Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm going to give folks just a couple minutes to get logged into Zoom, if you're joining us on Zoom. My name is Andrew Schneider. I'm the Director of Operations with the Wyoming Arts Alliance, and we really appreciate your registration and your participation in the webinar today. If you're just rolling in, I'm going to give folks another minute or two here to get in the room. We had some really healthy attendance this morning. We have 41 folks registered to participate by Zoom and another 80 folks registered for the live stream on Facebook. So just going to give it another minute here for folks to roll in, and then I will get us started by introducing our wonderful panel today. Well, it looks like the room is filling up. Again, I want to introduce myself. I'm Andrew Schneider. I'm the Director of Operations for the Wyoming Arts Alliance. We really appreciate everyone taking the time out of your Tuesday morning to get oriented to the wonderful small business development resources that are available around the state. And obviously, we couldn't fit the entire roster of those services and resources on one panel today. So please stay tuned to the Arts Alliance's social media and our email list, as we will be working to bring other voices in sort of a part two on this topic later this fall. By way of background, the Arts Alliance began doing these webinars, which we call our online arts and culture series, during the economic and global health pandemic of 2019-2020. It became a really great way for folks around the state to gain access to the resources in arts and culture that we needed to survive that disruption. And true to Wyoming form, the creative industry sector has rebounded. We're in a growth phase, and recovery continues. So it is our pleasure to continue hosting these online arts and culture series webinars, just to help folks find their way to the resources that you need to thrive. Today, we're going to be here for about an hour. We'll have a chance for questions and answers at the end of the session. So please feel free, if you're in Zoom, to use the Q&A functionality and type your questions in there for the end of the session. We're going to cover sort of 6 or 5 topics, just general startup and scale up resources, access to capital and funding, access to markets and branding, access to talent and collaboration through networking. So those are some of the highlights here, and we're going to be hearing from each of our panelists today. So I'll kick it off with our introduction phase here by handing it over to Beth then with the Neltje Center. Beth, you want to give us an introduction and let us know what you're up to at the newly minted Neltje Center? Welcome.
Thank you, Andrew. I really appreciate this, and thanks for putting it all together, and to all of you out there on Zoom and Facebook and LinkedIn and everywhere else. I join with Andrew in thanking you for being a part of this today. So I am just going to begin my introduction with a bit of the origin story of the Neltje Center, and then I'll move on to some of our planned programming. For those, some of you may have known personally or know of the artist named Neltje. Neltje was a woman who grew up with some privilege in New York City and moved to Wyoming in the 1960s to the Sheridan area. She bought a ranch and decided to live her life here as an artist, as a painter, as a philanthropist, as an entrepreneur, and as a lover of all arts and artists everywhere. So that's a brief introduction to Neltje. She was very much a part of the arts community in the Sheridan area, and of course, even statewide. Neltje planned to have her estate given to the University of Wyoming, and upon her death in April of 2021, that's exactly what happened. The university had planned with Neltje during her lifetime to set up a center for arts and humanities at the university that would be administered by the University of Wyoming, but that physically is located still on Neltje's property, her ranch, just about, in Banner, Wyoming, just south of Sheridan. In 2001, Neltje decided to start an artist residency on her property. So many of you here in the state may know of the Gentel Artist Residency. Gentel functions 11 months of the year. Every month, for a month-long stay, there are 4 visual artists and 2 writers in residence at the Neltje Center. And so that is one program that was always in place. Moving forward, the Neltje Center, as we transition from the place being Neltje's home to this very large building, Neltje's home, where she collected lots of art, where she herself had a studio, and her home now is the Neltje Center, and it's filled with art of Neltje's own paintings, art that she collected as an art collector, and art and artifacts that she gathered from her travels all over the world. So the Neltje Center is really a kind of visual extravaganza. When you walk in, it's kind of, quite frankly, packed with so many things. It's aesthetically beautiful and a very inspiring place, to say the least. We are just beginning to put together programming for the Neltje Center. So right now, for instance, in May, we had the author and poet Gretel Ehrlich conducted a masterclass for a week at the Neltje Center. We will continue to bring in visiting artists and visiting writers for masterclasses, workshops, and other such things. We will also be bringing in, as I say, visual artists to do installation work, to work with students, and in a variety of different ways. Currently, we are very focused on what we're calling our mini residencies for students at the University of Wyoming, and this consists of faculty and students coming to do 3 to 5 day intensive workshops at the Neltje Center, working in Neltje's studios. We will expand all of this programming out to artists in the state as we continue to plan for the future, but that's kind of the state of what we're doing now. The Neltje Center is also one of the administrators of a statewide grant, which is from the Wyoming Innovation Partners. It's a grant called Investing in Wyoming's Creative Economy. So we're working with other partners in the state, Northwest College, Sheridan College, the Wyoming Arts Council, of course, Andrew and others, to administer a series of workshops that will happen later this year in November and on through the spring of next year, that will culminate in a kind of startup competition and some awards, financial awards with that competition. So those are some of the things we're involved in now, and we have lots of plans for the future as well.
Wonderful, Beth. Thank you so much for joining us and for the inspiring work that you're beginning. It's incredible to think of how much you've done just since your first day, June 1st. It's really remarkable. So welcome to Wyoming. We're glad to have you.
Thank you.
Desiree Rothe, I'm so glad to have you with us today.
Awesome. Thanks for having us. And hi, everyone. Happy Tuesday, not Wednesday yet, definitely Tuesday still. I'm Desiree Brothy. I am both the Assistant Director with Art Cheyenne here in Cheyenne, Wyoming. And then I am also the Artist Development Director with Wyoming Women's Business Center, who I am more broadly representing today. Thanks for having me.
Okay, and I am Diane Santum, and I am the co-founder and CEO of The Local Crowd, which is a localized crowdfunding platform that helps people raise money, including artists, for projects. And so thank you for inviting me to be here and share some of that story.
Thanks, Diane. Mike, do you want to introduce yourself? Mr. Mike Schober.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for having me, Andrew. I'm Mike Schober. I'm Vice President of Energy Capital Economic Development in Gillette, Wyoming. And we have a business incubator, and a large focus of ours is to help entrepreneurs start their businesses, give them a place to grow and expand in the community. And we're just excited to work with all different types of entrepreneurs, people that make products out of leather, creative arts, and we also work with the local crowd across Northeast Wyoming, and you'll hear more about that from Diane, but I'm just really glad to be here and be part of the entrepreneurial spirit that Wyoming has.
Thank you, Mike. Rachel.
Thanks, Andrew. Good morning, everyone. Andrew, thanks for pulling this all together for us. My name is Rachel Clifton. I'm the Executive Director of the Wyoming Arts Council. We are a statewide arts agency, so we are part of state government under State Parks and Cultural Resources. We do a lot of granting to both individual artists around the state and also work a lot with arts organizations and nonprofits, and of course, work very closely with Andrew and Waya on legislative issues and anything else kind of arts and culture related that may come up at the state level.
Thank you all for being here. And it's also my pleasure this morning to introduce you all to two of the Wyoming Arts Alliance board members who are joining us today to speak to their experience navigating these small business development resources. In alphabetical order, Chad, would you like to introduce yourself first, and then Shawn?
Good morning. My name is Chad Banks. I am with the Rock Springs Main Street Urban Renewal Agency, and we are responsible for community and economic development here in downtown Rock Springs, which is our focus. I'm also a former member of the Rock Springs City Council, and more recently, a former member of the Wyoming State Legislature. Happy to be here.
Good morning, everybody. My name's Shawn Day, and I also sit on the Alliance. Founded a record company last year called Bighorn Records. I'm in the process of building with some of these folks here on this webinar. And I also represent the city of Sheridan as a local councilman.
Wonderful. Well, thank you all for joining us today and for the inspiring work you do year-round. Shawn, I think I want to kick it off with you, maybe to tell us a little bit more about the journey of Bighorn Records. It's been my pleasure to watch over the last year how this has developed from an idea to a bona fide company. And I was hoping you could maybe walk us through the steps that you took to get to where you are today, and identify the different resources that you have used on your journey to get here.
Yeah, you bet. Yeah, thank you, Andrew. And I guess I'll just start from the beginning of the journey, and it's definitely been a journey. So yeah, I received a call from Marty Camino, former board member at Waya, and he placed a call to me just randomly one day and asked if I'd be interested in representing artists in the Northeast region of the state. And I've been fortunate enough to be an artist most of my life, so I've kind of understood how the label side of things works. We were with Columbia Records in 2007 and 2008 over in London, so kind of got that firsthand experience of seeing how that infrastructure helps artists to grow and how strong that development can be. So I ended up just partnering with David Adcock out of Nashville at Red Light Management. They represent some pretty big artists out there, and I thought it would be a cool initiative to try to bring some exposure to some of the beautiful music that's being written in Wyoming. And that's how the company started. And I'm a big believer in synchronizations. If you have these kind of big moonshots, it's interesting to see how opportunities start to come into your life. And I mean, that's been the journey so far. So I had the idea, and then it was, it's everything. It was my first company ever starting a company. So I knew that I needed branding elements, logos, websites, all those infrastructural things for companies, which is not my forte at all. But I also know that, you know, to be a musician in 2023, now it's like, you gotta be a content curator, a marketer, a promoter, a distributor, an artist, a songwriter, you know, kind of everything. You got to wear all these hats, and I just feel like it's a lot. It's a lot of weight to put on artists. So my, I guess, vision for the label right now is just to really redefine our services and start to grow those services so that the artists that we're working directly with can have more time to write music and be creative. And I can't speak highly enough of the resources that Wyoming's been able to allocate, you know, between Waya's been there the whole time, and I've felt that support. Small Business Development Center has been amazing. Mike over at Energy Capital, you've been amazing. I appreciate all of your help. The local crowd has been immensely helpful. I've been working with Caitlin Heller and Debbie Gorski over there, and they've helped me put together a local crowdfunding campaign that we're about a quarter of the way through now, and just had the official ribbon cutting about a month ago, which successful. And all those pieces, you know, I've been working with Amanda Jeffers at the University of Wyoming. She's helped me with all the website development side of things. I mean, really nuanced things, like when I was in the process of putting together the business and doing the P&Ls and the cash flow projections and all of that, I was directly put in touch with Robert Condi over in Rock Springs, who jumped on numerous Zoom calls with me and helped me with QuickBooks, Excel, that whole side of the business. And, you know, it's interesting. It's kind of like in the process of trying to create this infrastructure for artists, I feel like there's been an infrastructure created for me as an entrepreneur. And that's been a very, very powerful and beautiful thing to experience as someone who feels like they're out in the middle of an ocean, just trying to, you know, try to find land or something. And I'm really grateful for all of the team that we've grown since the conception of the label. And, you know, I think that the first few months were all about just incorporating the business, getting the first artist signed, working directly with the artists to see what those needs are. And now we're kind of in a phase where, like I said earlier, we're redefining those products and services. You know, we want to be producing vinyl, doing boutique merch, all Wyoming grown is the you know, kind of concept of the album. And then as far as services, providing that management, booking, you know, promotion, marketing, distribution, those 5 services, and really redefining all of those so that we can get good at what we do and eventually, you know, be a company that artists are proud to have represent them.
Amazing. Well, thank you for being here. Stick around with us, and please feel free to chime in on the conversation today. It's really inspiring to me to hear how you've used all of these resources. I know that those resources are largely free resources as well, that are made available through different grants and funding opportunities. So it's really exciting to see what you've been able to do in a short amount of time, just by going slow and deliberate, one step at a time, and reaching out to find those resources. I wanted to just, you had mentioned Mike and the connection with Energy Capital Economic Development. So Mike, I wanted to give you a little chance here to plug what an economic development organization does and how you get involved in an entrepreneur's journey like Shawn.
Yeah, thank you, Andrew, and thank you, Shawn. It is exciting to work with both of you. And from an economic development standpoint, we want to work with anyone who has a great idea, a service, or a product. And a lot of times people know a lot about what they do or what they create. And some of the things that Shawn mentioned was, how do I put together a P&L? How do I go about setting up a business and working with the Small Business Development Council. Impact 307 is another part of the University of Wyoming that we've had a chance to work with. And so what we do here at Energy Capital is to provide a space. We have a small business incubator. You can see it's in the building in the photo behind me. That's our small entrepreneur location here in Gillette. And so the idea is to have a space where it's at market rate or even below for someone to set up a studio, set up a small office, and to find the resources to get help with marketing, with what are some of the financial institutions or maybe grants that are available for an entrepreneur to get started. And so that's where we try to focus and help. And what we hear most frequently from the entrepreneurs that we have is that about the networking. That's the most valuable asset, to be able to find a resource that they may need more help in, just to stand up their, maybe it's a hobby or it's something that they've been passionate about to create, but they want to do it full time. And so what does that look like? And what is that measured approach over months or even years to stand it up and to be successful and to find a market for their product or their idea or their service? And so that's what we try to do, is foster that environment in that place to grow and to do it full time, and to go out into the community and create their business, have a storefront, have a gallery, those types of ideas. And just, to me, the creative aspect of entrepreneur is exciting because it's helping people fulfill their dreams.
Well, it's likewise, I think the support that you offer is inspiring, because it helps people accomplish those dreams. So I want to give just a quick plug that so Energy Capital is located in Gillette, but there are economic development organizations around the state in communities large and small. And if you're interested, maybe we can drop a link here in the chat at some point. But there is a statewide economic development network where you can find a list of those local resources. So we'll see if we can dig that up in case you're interested in working with an economic development authority a little closer to home. Of course, if you're in the northeast part of the state, Mike is a great person to connect with, and really everyone on our call here today is worth reaching out to and seeing what support they can offer. So just looking at time, is there anyone else who just wants to kind of chime in on the general topic here of support for startup? And if not, then I'll move us on to our conversation about funding. Great. Well, I've in my career have launched a couple of startups before getting more focused into nonprofit work. And one of the tools in my toolbox was my community around me. And each of those businesses started with friends and family, and their ability to support, as well as my own resources to put into the startup. And so it's really exciting for me to have Diane here representing the local crowd to speak about this idea of engaging your community in a crowdfunding campaign. Diane, can you tell us, for those who may not have familiarity with that, what is the local crowd all about, and how does crowdfunding work to support creative entrepreneurs and artists? Thanks.
Thank you. I'd love to talk about that, and I'm excited to be here talking to artists about that, because as crowdfunding actually, modern day crowdfunding actually started with artist community. Of course, the idea of crowdfunding is very old. I mean, we've always been passing the hat to support projects, and even the Statue of Liberty was crowdfunded, this base that they put that on. But the modern day started with, in 1997, raising money for a British rock band to do a reunion tour. And that inspired the platform Artist Share to be started here in the United States in 2001 to support musical artists. And then Indiegogo started in 2007 with the intention of supporting film artists in the film industry. So crowdfunding came from artists because the artist community is really, one, does have, it challenges finding financing, and two, people really want to support art. They want to support, the fans want to support the artists. And so it really worked. And so that's really how the modern day crowdfunding started, was through the art community. And then in 2012, is when we started the Local Crowd, and that is a community-based platform. So it's a local platform, so that is like the Local Crowd Wyoming, and we are up in the northeast corner that, like Mike talked about, it is different areas that, so you could support local artists, local businesses, local projects, and support your local community. So that's how we came into that whole lineup of the unfolding of crowdfunding. And one of the things that happens in crowdfunding is not just the money that's raised. And Andrew mentioned community. It's, you activate your communities to support you. You also can prove your concept in the marketplace. You could get it out there and see, well, if people like it enough to fund it, then, you know, I don't have to spend thousands of dollars for a focus group. I've actually raised money finding out that it does work. You can find new customers and expand your customer base. Maybe meet partners that want to do projects with you. Maybe meet people who want to fund you in the future. And you can get a whole lot of exposure. So sometimes what we say is the least valuable part of the crowdfunding is the money you raise, because there's so much else that it does and brings to you. So I wanted to also talk about the local crowd model and some things that are happening in Wyoming right now. And so I'm going to share my screen a little bit. Let's see, we figured this works, so let's see if it does. And I just got a slide that really demonstrates how crowdfunding works. And so it starts with, and I like to say that crowdfunding isn't rocket science, but it is a science. And we do know a lot of things by digital footprints of millions of campaigns. And one of the things we know is, like in this small print up here, 80 to 90% of the funds raised come from the activities of the campaign creator, that's the person raising money, and their team. So there it starts with you and your team, and you get your network, and then they reach out to their network, and then they reach out to their network. That's how all campaigns work. So you see that it starts with the nucleus there of the team. So then what the local crowd does is to activate the community to come in as part of your spring-loaded team, so that when people are like Mike has talked about all these different projects in his region, and when the next one comes in, everybody that's in that region knows about it, and they can start spreading it. So it really helps to leverage that. So that's the science of crowdfunding, and that's the model that the local crowd is built on. But it doesn't have to be a geographic community. It can be your community, your artist community. And so you're all part of the artist community in Wyoming already right now. And so you've heard about Shawn's campaign that's live right now on the local crowd. And then you're going to hear about another one that's about the art of neon signs, which is an awesome thing. And so those are, you know, a part of a community that you can get involved in right now. So I'm going to end with basically saying 2 things to do. go to the localcrowd.coop, and it's not .com because we're co-op in our cooperative, like a cooperative of really helping people. So go to the localcrowd.coop and get this is just a slide, I'm not there, but you go into the campaigns and support Shawn's campaign, send him some money, and then you'll be part of that community. And also the campaign you're going to hear about from Chad, which is called Let's Get Lit, and it's about the neon sign. And not only is that great because you're helping these businesses, but you're going to get how good it feels to help and to be part of that community. And sometimes and that's going to teach you. So when you run your own campaign, you think, I have a hard time asking, but you think, wow, people are going to feel good about helping me, just like I felt good. So it gets you into that vibe of contributing and communicating and being part of this. And then just another resource, I'll tell you real quick. Another artist, Amanda Palmer, a musician, raised money for her CD, and she's got a great TED Talk called The Art of Asking. So that will help you get into that asking vibe. So then also you go to that co-op and click on, this is the last call for those benefits that you're going to get as part of the Community Navigator Project, which is $1,800 worth of coaching, money that can be put to market your campaign, actual, because of the local crowd partnership, actual cash put on your campaign as cash match. So this is the best time to get involved with it. And it's the ending in the, we need you to apply by August 31st. So then apply now and you can get in on that great deal. So thank you, Andrew, for letting me give that little story.
Wonderful. Well, it's so cool to see what you've created through the local crowd and the commitment to serving Wyoming's rural and remote communities and our entrepreneurs. Appreciate also the visual aids there. It helps to demystify some of that process of how that really works. And I'm glad to be joined today by former Representative Chad Banks, a real champion for the Rock Springs community. And Chad, I wanted to give you an opportunity just to talk about your work with the local crowd and the campaign that you have going in Rock Springs. So take it away.
Sure. As Diane mentioned, we're working with a local business owner to restore a historic neon sign here in downtown Rock Springs, with hopes that also will raise enough to spread that out to others. But the sign's been around for 60 years. It's in need of much repair, and the property owner could replace that sign much more economically than repairing all the neon. But then we'd lose that history and the artistry that goes with neon signs. So we worked with Diane to do it. And a shout out to them at the local crowd. If you haven't used them or you're unfamiliar with how that crowdfunding campaign works, the nice thing about the local crowd here in Wyoming is, she mentioned the $1,800 bonus that you get if you're in that program, and the training that they get. There are obviously other platforms that are, I suppose, probably bigger, right? But Diane's team works with you one-on-one. You're assigned a person that you can call, that you can have email access to right away if you have questions, if you have challenges with how things are working, and they are always there ready to lend a hand, which is one of the great things. The other thing is, all the money raised stays here for your project, and the fees that go to the local crowd, which is a percentage, those also stay in Wyoming. They employ Wyoming folks. They help build our Wyoming communities, and so it's great from that perspective. From our perspective, it's the other thing that I found was interesting, and I think Diane touched on this a little bit, was asking for gifts. So when you're doing these, particularly, you may have a gift if you donate or contribute a $25 thing. There may be a gift that goes along with that. We had such a tremendous response from our merchants who wanted to support one another to providing those gifts and those rewards, as they're called, that it was really great to see that groundswell of local support to help support this one business owner with her sign project. And so that was really truly one of the cool things to come out of it. Was so often I work with little independent mom and pop businesses in downtown Rock Springs. Many of them have, no employees, or it's a family run and that's it. And, often run on a very thin margin. And so their support of this really meant a lot when, a $25 gift card for one of these businesses might mean a lot to that business to contribute. And so it was great to see that. And it is such a great resource, and it can reach, don't let the term, I think, local crowd sort of scare you a little bit, because it can reach way beyond Rock Springs or Sweetwater County or Wyoming, and it can truly reach, around the world, just like anything on the internet can. And so it's been a great resource for us, and a great resource for businesses, for artists, for nonprofits, for just about anybody who's looking to raise funds and has an innovative project that will capture some attention and starting in your community.
Wonderful. And I love the creative branding of the Get Lit campaign down there.
Well, and it sort of has a double entendre because it's for a bar. And so, it's sort of, it is to raise money for the bar sign as well. So anyway, yeah.
Wonderful. Well, while we're on this topic of funding, I just want to bring back up something Mike talked about earlier, which is Impact 307. And that's another more competitive based funding model, but through their pitch challenges, but they have other resources to help with fundraising. And then just a quick shout out for the state's Main Street program, which is delivered in part through the Business Council, but there are folks just like Chad in communities around the state who are there to support those mom and pop Main Street businesses. So make sure you keep them on your radar as a resource as well. While we're on the topic of funding, Rachel, maybe do you want to chime in on some of what the Arts Council has, and then we can kick it over to Desiree to talk a little bit about what happens at the Women's Business Development Center.
Definitely. Thanks, Andrew. Yeah, I'll just talk briefly about kind of the main grants that we have available. Of interest maybe to this particular crowd is our Professional Development Career Advancement Grant. And that's one of the only grants really that we can offer to individuals. So this is, you yourself as an artist can apply for this. We just increased the dollar amount this year to $1,000. And you can apply to us every other year for that. There's no match required. So if your expenses are $1,000, you need $1,000, this is a great grant. You don't have to match with any capital of your own. And this can go to anything from, marketing, hiring someone to help you develop a website, if you need to purchase equipment, or even if you wanted to travel to a conference or a workshop and do some professional development, we fund those types of activities too. So definitely take a look at that. If you're someone like Chad, who's part of a municipality or city government, or another form of nonprofit, an arts nonprofit, we have a larger grant, the Community Support Grant, which is a competitive grant, and that's open once a year. The Professional Development Grant's open on a rolling basis and is reviewed internally by staff. So it's a little easier to get than the Community Support Grant, but definitely take a look at the Community Support Grant for those larger projects, higher dollar amount type of things. And then the other grant we have is an Arts Access Project Grant, which is also non-competitive and on a rolling basis. And there's some parameters around that one to try and reach some different communities in the state, but could also be another option. So all of that information is on our website. We have a fantastic grants manager on staff who can answer any questions you might have, help you with the application. I know grant writing can sound a little scary for folks, especially if you've never done it before, but just know that our staff is willing to help out any step of the way.
Great. Thank you for all you do there. I wanted to kick things over and kind of segue from our funding conversation into a conversation about branding and creating that business and some of the other resources that are there as you begin to package, what is this business? How do we get our message out there in the world? What are the resources that we need to develop a brand, a visual brand, and then to market that brand, to bring in customers, to bring in funding? And so the Wyoming Women's Business Center is a really fantastic example of that work and offers a wide range of different services and supports for artists. So I'm really thrilled to have Desiree here just to speak to what's available. And I'll hand it over to you, Desiree.
Thank you so much, Andrew. I appreciate that. Yeah, so I'll talk holistically for a second here about the Wyoming Women's Business Center. So we serve women, obviously, but we hope to empower entrepreneurs. We focus a little bit on micro enterprise and super small businesses. So we catch a lot of those startups, and these are businesses, whether it's arts related or not, who are generally sole proprietors, so a single individual or a very small amount of employees. So that's kind of our niche in our area. We provide business counseling, training. We do have a microloan program. We provide monthly webinars. We have a course called Dream Builder, which is a business plan writing course. It's about, I think it's 15 hours of content over several weeks. There's a live and a pre-recorded option to help kind of fit people who are working during the day. And then to Andrew's point about some digital marketing. So unfortunately, our grant funding is out this year, but it will come back around for next year. We offer a few different resources. So we have a program called Geek Pack, which provides digital marketing training. It covers things like Google My Business, social media, not only the basics, but some strategy behind how to implement those things and how those things should function for a business. So we have that. We also have, and this is another piece that our grant funding always runs out quick on this one because it's a great resource, but it's called Business to Business Creative Services. And that provides funding for creative service businesses. So we essentially match up a videographer or a photographer, anybody like that, with a business who needs those services. And so we are able to leverage our networks together. So those are some of the more branding oriented things we do. My particular job and role is as the artist development director. And so that is twofold. First and foremost, we run the Works of Wyoming Gallery in downtown Laramie. So I'm the director of that. And that helps artists who have never shown or sold their work before learn how to price and put their work out into an environment to sell. We manage all of both the online and physical retail components of that. And even if artists have been showing work for a while, it can help you get into a new market too. And our call for artists is currently open for that through August 31st. So if you visit wyomingwomen.org, and I'll make sure I post this link, you can take a look at that call for artists. The other piece of my job, and what is actually really kind of my passion project behind this, and something I started with Art Cheyenne and brought over to Wyoming Women's Business Center, is actually a program called The Work of Art. So this is the tagline to it is business skills for artists. Most of us know that as artists, we aren't often taught how to go into business for ourselves. And those can be scary, especially in a creative environment, when we approach things quite a bit differently than a traditional business model will. So this particular program is 9 weeks of content, and we go through everything from goal setting. I mean, I take it down to the pretty bare basics, because if you don't set your goals, you don't know where you're going. And we do that with each of these different segments. So we do goal setting, we talk about writing an artist statement, we talk about portfolio development, we talk about starting a business as an artist. We do go into marketing and branding pretty heavily. We talk about what it is to be a sole proprietor as an artist. So all of these different things. And that next cohort will be starting on September 26th. In fact, registration should open up here next week. So happy to answer any questions. I wanted to be succinct with that, and hopefully I touched on all of your points there, Andrew.
Wow, that it's astonishing, the incredible programs that have grown there, and really just how many years has the Wyoming Women's Business Center been around?
We're at about 10 to 12, and I apologize. I just started in April, so I'm still learning some of my stats. We also, I should mention this, we have a staff of 10, 6 of which have started within the last year and a half, excuse me. So our growth has been exponential within the last year and a half.
Well, it's really a testament to Wyoming's entrepreneurial spirit to see the momentum developing, to support in so many different ways. There's really a huge variety here, and I think the one thing that I've heard each of you touch on is the importance of having a network as an entrepreneur and being reaching out to access all of these different resources. And I'm just thinking back, it's interesting that sometimes the resource that you need as an entrepreneur may not be the resource that's in your community. It may be a business coach through the Small Business Development Center network across the state who's going to help you virtually. So I wanted to kind of segue us from this branding and access to markets conversation and think about that networking and that collaboration and that resources for building those networks statewide. And it's a great segue, Rachel, to have you talk about some of what you do through the Arts Council. So I'll turn it over to you there to talk a little bit more about what you've got coming up.
Great. Thanks, Andrew. Yeah, just to talk a bit more about the Arts Council structurally, when we're fully staffed, we're a staff of 7. So in addition to myself, I mentioned we have a grants manager who oversees all of our grants. We have a community development and arts learning specialist on staff. So if you're working with organizations in your community or your community is working to bring a new arts event, she's a great point of contact. We have a folk and traditional arts specialist on staff who also does health and wellness through the arts initiatives. And then we have a creative arts specialist on staff who works primarily with our individual artists and programs like our independent music initiative. And then we also have a public outreach and events coordinator on staff who just started at the beginning of the month. So someone to help us kind of get the word out about who we are and what we do. But all of that is to say, we in and of ourselves can be a resource for you. If we don't have the answer from someone on staff, which many times we do not, we're happy to kind of build connections for you through our networks. As a statewide entity, we're in pretty much every county in the state. So if we don't know the answer, don't know who to talk to, we can put you in touch with someone who does. So feel free to reach out to us at any point in time. Thanks, Andrew, for dropping that in the chat. I talked a little bit about our grants already, so definitely think of us as a funding source as well. We also offer fellowships for individual artists, so that's a great program. We bring in judges and jurors from outside the state to review applications. So that's really a great critical resource, I think, for artists to get that outside perspective. And then that is an unrestricted cash award. So keep that in mind too. We do those in visual arts, native art, performing art, so theater and dance and music, and in creative writing. So really trying to get some funds into artists to let artists do what they do best is part of what we do. The one main event that I'll mention is coming up in October, the 27th through the 29th. We'll be up in Sheridan for our biannual art summit. So this is the first time we've had it in person since 2019. So thanks COVID for pushing us virtually in 2021. So really excited to really make this a gathering place for creatives and individuals, arts administrators, educators who work in all corners of the state. We invite you to come to Sheridan, join us. We've got 2 full days of sessions and workshops, professional development, some great keynote speeches planned, and really tapping into the arts and culture in Sheridan too. It's a great place to be, and a really great networking opportunity. We try to structure things so that folks have time to go grab coffee or lunch together, grab dinner, and get to know one another around the state, tap into those other resources, and just kind of see what everyone's been up to. It's easy to go to our respective corners and put our heads down and do our work. And so this is a really great opportunity for everyone to just kind of come together and share and network. That's kind of the big one coming up. I'll also mention that we have a governor appointed board of 10. So that's another way that we have folks in communities around the state. If you don't know who your board member is in your neck of the woods, let us know. Our board list is also on our website, but also folks who live and breathe and work in the arts and can be another resource for you all. So check our website. We have a pretty solid social media following. We do monthly emails out to folks too. So if there's something happening in your community that you want to invite folks to, send us an email and we're happy to share that information and just kind of help one another support the things happening in our communities.
Wonderful. And I'll back that up with a plug for the Wyoming Arts Summit. On Friday, which is the 27th of October, the Arts Alliance will be hosting a advocacy training with Representative Cyrus Western, and that'll be located at the Sage Community Arts Gallery in Sheridan. And then immediately following will be the Party of the Millennium across the street at the WYO Theater. And we're really glad to have Backwards Distilling as the official spirit of the arts for this reception, and hope that you all will take advantage of this every other year summit to come together and do some in-person networking in a way that we haven't been able to do for 4 years, almost 5 years. So I want to turn it over to
also say something as part of this. I'm sorry, Andrew, to interrupt.
Actually, no, I was just going to segue and say, this is a great chance. I just want to go around and ask other folks if you've got events coming up or networking opportunities, or you want to tell people how to stay in touch with you. Please go for it. Beth, take it away.
So I just wanted to piggyback on Rachel's discussion about the Arts Summit and to let you all know that we will, for people who are attending the Arts Summit in October, we do have a time. Rachel, I think it's October 28th. I don't have my calendar in front of me.
It will be Sunday the 29th at 11 o'clock.
I knew I would have it wrong. So Sunday the 29th at 11 o'clock, from about 11 to 1, people who are participating in the summit, artists, everyone, administrators, we're having a kind of open house at the Neltje Center, so that those of you who might be coming into the Sheridan area from other parts of the state will have an opportunity to come and see the Neltje Center and all of the great, amazing things that Neltje has there and has collected and put together for your enjoyment. So I look forward to meeting many of you in late October.
And Beth, do you want to talk about the event you have this month in August for Celebrate the Arts?
Yes, thanks, Andrew. I am not, as well, I didn't really prepare to be as tech savvy as Diane was, which is kind of amazing. Oh, I'm going to unblur my background in order to be able to show you this. We do have, as part of Celebrate the Arts, this is the poster, we will be having on August 27th from noon until 4 p.m. the opportunity for anyone to come to the Neltje Center and visit the beautiful gardens, the outdoor gardens at the Neltje Center, and the outdoor sculpture collection. We have a map of the outdoor sculptures that you'll be able to follow and walk around, enjoy the beautiful scenery, enjoy the art, enjoy the gardens, bring a picnic, bring a blanket, stay all afternoon. We also have, if you can kind of see here, art benches that'll be set up around the property. This is at the foot of the Bighorn, so there's much to see. And we'll have art benches that you can sit, draw a flower, draw the mountains, draw a sketch, whatever you would like. So it's going to be a kind of day of looking at art and creating art, and everyone is invited and it's free. And we hope that you will join us on the 27th of August.
Great. I'm going to try and make the drive up from Casper and spend an inspiring day on the grounds there. Mike, I see you coming off mute. Go ahead, go for it.
Well, I just wanted to let everyone know that we will have our annual end of summer barbecue Thursday, August 24th from 4 to 6. Come check out all the entrepreneurs in our Fuel Incubators network, and learn more about what's going on, meet some of the entrepreneurs that have their own business in-house as well as outreach members. And then also coming up in September, we will have applications for the Startup Challenge with partnership with Impact 307. That'll be open to anyone that has a entrepreneurial business idea, or they're a small business and they have a new product or service. It's kind of like Shark Tank, but just on a very local level. We'll have some judges, and we actually have $50,000 raised, and the panel of judges will select the finalists, and they will actually receive that money. And so that'll be open to residents of Campbell County, Crook County, and Weston County. So if you're in any of those counties, check it out. We'll have more information on Facebook and on LinkedIn for Energy Capital Economic Development. Or if you just want to sit and visit and talk about your idea, your product, or your service, just feel free to stop by at 345 Sinclair Street. We're just down the street from Gillette College, and we'd be happy to talk with you.
Thanks. Is there anyone else who wants to say anything before we go to questions and answers? Folks, if you're in Zoom and you'd like to ask a question of our panelists, now is the time. Hit the Q&A button down in your menu and go ahead and type your question in there. I'm not seeing any so far, so try to raise your hand if you've asked a question and it's just not showing up on my end. But I'll give anyone else a chance here from our panel. If you want to add any thoughts, last thoughts here.
I have a thought, Andrew.
Great, Shawn.
I just wanted to reiterate and reinforce. I can't speak highly enough of all of the teams, that help us entrepreneurs here in Wyoming, and specifically the representatives of all of those teams. I think one thing that I didn't mention that has been invaluable to the growth of the label has been the weekly accountability and the communication that goes on amongst these teams. Like, I'll have meetings where Y is on there, the local crowd's on there, Impact 307's on there, and I'm getting hit with questions that I probably would not otherwise come up with myself. And it's I can't speak highly enough to that accountability. And even like working with Caitlin, for example, at the local crowd, I know she's also a success coach. So it's like, when you're working with energies like that are constantly help you move the needle and push that bar, it's invaluable. So I just wanted to reiterate that to all you entrepreneurs out there.
If I can jump onto that as well, the other thing that it sort of occurred to me as all of us were speaking, and I think for some of us goes without saying, but it may not always be self-evident, is the importance of networking, be it in your community. We're all sort of statewide, but make sure that you're involved with, if you're curious, if you have a Main Street program in your community, it's wyomingmainstreet.org. They're a great resource. If you have a downtown development authority, a chamber of commerce, whatever those are, if you get plugged into one of those groups, they can help you find all of those others and help you put in touch with who the economic developer is in your community or who the chamber is and so forth. And so that networking will really help you in making those connections to those other groups that will help down the road.
Similarly, and the last thing I kind of want to mention is, and I don't know if I emphasized this enough when I spoke the first time, Wyoming Women's Business Center is a statewide resource. So everything we have available is absolutely applicable and approachable to anybody across the state. So I work hybrid remote. I'm based out of Cheyenne. I travel into Laramie 1 to 2 days a week while weather is good. And so I also perform a significant amount of business counseling with our artists. One of the other things I wanted to make sure I brought up is, while I myself myself am a visual artist and I work with a lot of visual artists. By no means is our programming explicit to visual artists. Authors, performers, anybody of any other creative field can certainly take advantage of the work of art program and some of those resources. And often I don't want people from those other sectors to get lost in that conversation when it comes to visual artists.
Good call out. Well, we did have one question roll in. Folks, if you have questions, we're able to stick around here for another 10 minutes or so. So please feel free, if you're in Zoom, to drop a question now, and we will put it to our expert panel here. I think, Rachel, this is a good one for you to tee up. Kristen Hugo asks about any funds, recommendations, etc., for nonfiction authors.
Definitely. Just to reiterate what Desiree just said, definitely check out the Wyoming Women's Business Center. The Arts Council absolutely funds nonfiction authors, so look to us for that professional development grant. I'd also recommend reaching out. There's some great writing groups and organizations around the state. The Jackson Hole Writers Conference is a great resource. WYO Writers is another great resource. They do annual professional development and probably have other recommendations specific for funding for writers. Everyone's super easy to work with, super helpful. Would be happy, I'm sure, to bring you into the fold.
I can jump on that too and say, depending on what the nonfiction topic is, it could be a candidate for crowdfunding. For example, we did have a campaign out of Montana. The author was writing the history of a ballroom dance place in a Montana town. And so she had a lot of stories about dance, about people who've been there over the history. And so the community was interested in supporting that. The dance, kind of what we call an affinity group, people that are interested in ballroom dance. So depending on the topic, there's probably affinity groups that might be interested in supporting that book. You could pre-sell the book, if you're planning to write a book. So there are ways to use crowdfunding to support nonfiction writing.
Great. Kristen says, thank you. My book is a traditionally published book about animal remains. I've seen some nonfiction grants, but they tend to be mostly for memoirs, which mine is not. Kristen, wish you the best success on your book, and look forward to finding a copy. It sounds like a fascinating topic. And I hope you follow up with some of the resources here today to take the next step on your entrepreneurial journey of publishing this book. Next question up, and I think, Rachel, this is another one for you. Jennifer Wilkins is asking, I'm very interested in attending the Arts Summit, but funding is limited for me. Would it be ethical to apply for a grant through multiple resources in case one does not approve? Do you want to speak to some of the cost options for the summit and your thoughts on how folks can maybe find some professional development resources to get them to the summit in October? I know it's coming right up here fast.
It is. Hi, Jennifer. Thanks for being here. I hope you're doing well. Yes, so two things. One, you're ahead of our press release that you can apply for a professional development grant from us to attend our Arts Summit. So if that's of help, definitely look into that. The other thing to mention is that we're doing tiered registration this year. So we have options for whatever you are able to pay. If you can pay full registration, great. We have a discounted registration rate, a pay what you can option, and then also a completely free option. So if you can pay $10 to be there, great, pay $10 and come. We want you to be there and we don't want cost to prohibit anyone from attending. But if you also then have things like mileage and it takes you a day to get there, that's completely understandable. And that's when you can look at that professional development grant to attend this. You can also apply for that professional development grant for a couple different things. So say you wanted to come to the Arts Summit in October, and then there was another conference you wanted to register for in January or February, you can lump both of those into one application so you can get the maximum amount of funds and do the most with that pool of money. So hopefully that answers the question.
Wonderful, great advice. Well, folks, time just flies when you're hanging out with wonderful people, and I've learned a lot. I took a lot of notes here. This video will be available on our website as well as on our archive of Facebook Live videos. So if you're attending today and you know someone in your community who is an artist or a creative entrepreneur who wasn't able to join us today, I encourage you to share this with them. You can find our Facebook at facebook.com/Wyoming Arts. Our website is wyomingarts.org, and it'll take a couple days, but we'll get the video posted there as well. And then if you missed anything, feel free to go back to this recording and get those reminders as well as being on the lookout for future topics on small business development resources, specifically for arts and culture, entrepreneurs and artists. One last opening here, if anyone would like to share some parting words, and if not, we'll turn you back over to your Tuesday lunch hour.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much for being here and for the work you do all year round. If you, as I say, the Wyoming Arts Alliance lives and dies by the support of our members and our community. So I encourage everyone to go to wyomingarts.org and take out a membership. I sincerely want to thank the folks who registered and attended today through Eventbrite and made a donation with your registration, though even small donations allow us to continue offering resources, including these webinars. So thanks so much. Enjoy the rest of your August. We'll see you at the Arts Summit in Sheridan in October, and do good work, everyone. Thanks.
Thanks, Andrew. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.